Good evening. Welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Zakka Jacob. There is a crucial hearing in the Mehul Choksi case that is due in a court in Dominica in about half an hour's time. Aside of this, though, there is another case, an illegal entry case against him, which will come up in 2 weeks' time. No matter what the decision of both of these cases are and the respective courts are, Mehul Choksi still has legal options available before him, both in Dominica and also in Antigua. So, how close or perhaps how far is the government of India in trying to get this man back to the country so that he can face justice for the grave crimes that he's accused of? But first, the story.
Good news is that the Dominican government is standing with us. That is most important because it is usually the government-to-government relationship through which you can at least get people like Mehul Choksi deported from one country to another.
The Dominica court does believe that despite having committed the fraud in India and despite that case standing, he is a citizen of Antigua and needs to be first sent back to Antigua. Then it comes back to square one. India's biggest hope is that the kind of solidarity India showed with Dominica
All right, so that crucial hearing in the Mehul Choksi case expected to begin in about 30 minutes' time. But let's tell you what happened on day one of this crucial hearing, where the Dominican government made it amply clear that they are more than willing to send Mehul Choksi back to India so that he can stand trial for the heinous crimes that he's accused of. But here's what could likely happen in court today. The Dominican government maintains that Choksi's plea, remember he has filed a plea of habeas corpus, meaning that he was forcibly abducted by state and non-state agencies from Antigua and brought to Dominica. The Dominican government maintains that his plea is not maintainable. If the court agrees with the prosecution side, then it means that Mehul Choksi will possibly face deportation to India. Remember, he still has two appellate courts where he can appeal that decision. But if the court were to go by what Choksi's defense is claiming, and remember there's a battery of lawyers representing him, some of them flown in specially from London for this, if they buy his thesis that he was forcibly abducted and brought to Dominica, then he will be sent to Antigua and not to India, where, remember, there's already multiple stays on his potential deportation back to India, stays also on the case of his citizenship in Antigua. But here's the catch. Even if the court there agrees to deport Mehul Choksi back to India, there are still two appellate courts where he can appeal the decision of this court in Dominica. So therefore, it's going to be some weeks, if not months, before Mehul Choksi is put on that flight to India, if at all he is. Meanwhile, we also caught up with the MEA spokesperson, Arindam Bagchi, on what the government of India is doing, because remember, the MEA is trying to implead itself in this case. This is what the MEA spokesperson had to say.
India remains steadfast in its efforts to ensure that fugitives are brought back to India to face justice. Regarding the specific case of Mehul Choksi, we understand that he is currently in the custody of Dominican authorities and certain legal proceedings are underway. We will continue to make all efforts to ensure that he is brought back to India.
All right, joining us now on the talking point, Rajiv Pandey, spokesperson of the BJP, Anshul Avijit, the spokesperson of the Congress Party, Sanjay Hegde, senior advocate in the Supreme Court, and Kulbir Krishnan is a former IPS officer. Let me start with Rajiv Pandey. You know, two separate cases. One is the habeas corpus plea, which is being heard right now. And even if he were to lose that, Rajiv Pandey, he still has two appellate courts, the High Court and then subsequently the Supreme Court there, who he can appeal to. So it's going to be some time before Mehul Choksi is put on a flight to India. So what exactly are we celebrating here, or what exactly are we so, pinning our hopes on right now?
Jaka, this is not the question of celebrating or not. Government is very clear about this, that all fugitives will be brought back to India, whether it is Mehul Choksi or ABC. You have seen in the past also that government has done its best, and many people, many criminals, many terrorists operating from outside, they have been brought back to India. Even from Gulf countries, you have seen. As far as this case is
No,
concerned,
but
as you have
Mr. Pandey, Vijay Mallya, fugitive, still in London. Nirav Modi, fugitive, still in London. Lalit Modi,
Nirav Modi,
fugitive, still in London. Mehul Choksi, fugitive, still in London. So, who exactly have you brought back, please?
no,
Tell me.
Jaka, you have seen from Dubai. You have seen that Augusta Westland people, criminals have been brought. As far as the case of Nirav Modi is concerned, he is in judicial custody in those courts, and cases are going on. You know that there are appeal courts. You know that legal process has to be followed.
No,
in
you
each
said
and every country.
you said we have brought back so many. So I want to know from you, who have you brought back?
Jaka, you have the list. I will send you the list that how many people who are involved in the terror cases have been brought back from Dubai, from Gulf. I am not talking only financial crime, even for the crimes in which this anti-national activities, the terror charges also people have been brought back. And as far as these three
Okay, so
cases
come
are
back, sir. Come back to the question I asked you. Come back to the question I asked you. How soon do you believe you can get Mehul Choksi put on a flight to India? Because the lawyers there seem to be very clear that this legal process is going to take a few months.
Jaka, I cannot predict that how much time it will take in the courts of law in Dominica right now. But the best thing is that Antigua government has said that we feel that he is not our citizen, and Dominica is also cooperating with Indian governments. If you see that the Mehul Choksi is claiming that I'm an Antigua citizen, but that government is saying no, he is not Antigua citizen. So an Indian government has filed affidavit stating everything.
Okay, that of course, no, that will be put up before the courts and let the courts decide on that. Let me go to Anshul Avijit. Anshul, will you at least concede? Let's take one by one, right? Vijay Mallya has exhausted all his legal options. His case is pending before the Home Secretary in Britain, and I guess it's only a matter of time before that is adjudicated upon, or that is decided upon. Two, Nirav Modi, for whatever it's worth, is in a jail in London, convicted in this case. Of course, he has appeals ahead. We will see how that plays out. Mehul Choksi, we've seen the pictures of him with a bruised eye and so on and so forth. Again, many people reckon that his legal options in Dominica are much more limited than it were, say, in Antigua. So at least will you concede this much, that the government is doing whatever it can to try and get these men back to India and to face justice here in India?
Well, the government, the CBI has a lot to answer for. I mean, they've sent a sort of a private jet over there with 8 CBI officials. I mean, it's an ace team over there, but they have their task cut out for them. And I think that this, for the new CBI director, for his inaugural operation, this would be a huge success if it actually works out. And there's a good chance that it doesn't. And if they come back empty-handed with not more than a postcard or a shell necklace, then a lot of probing and searching answers for in this country. Look, it doesn't matter, Zakka. Even if you bring back Mehul Choksi to face punishment here for the monumental violations, put his head on a stake for all those to see as a warning to others. The foundational question of bank frauds in this country goes completely unanswered. The government has not addressed that question. We can keep searching for international fugitives. There is a law that
in the case of Mehul Choksi, for example, the government, both between the CBI and the ED, they have attached property worth some 2,500 crores. What else do you expect them to do?
All his assets are attached.
Hang on, Mr. Rajiv, just hang on. Let me answer the question. There is a paper that's come out by the RBI which says that in the last 5 years, they've been banned frauds to the tune of 5 lakh crores. In last 2 years, they've been banned frauds of 3 lakh crores. They continue ceaseless and unabated until you put a foot down on bank frauds. And banks are the front lines in that bogus Atmanirbhar Abhiyan or whatever it was. Banks were the only only line of support for the failing and floundering economy. I mean, frauds go on there unabated in the last couple of years, and until you address that problem,
which may well be the case. But may I just take a moment to highlight to our viewers that all of these folks, from Vijay Mallya to Nirav Modi to Mehul Choksi, who are all fugitives and wanted by law here in India, their loans were sanctioned when the UPA was in power. So I just want to put that fact out there for our viewers. But let me go to Sanjay Hegde. Let me ask Sanjay Hegde to clarify to our viewers. There are two cases as we understand. Right now, there is a habeas corpus plea that his lawyers have filed, and there is also the illegal arrival in Dominica, a case which I believe will be heard on the 14th. What is the bearing that one case will have on the other, and what is the bearing that both of these cases will have on his potential deportation to India, if at all that will happen? Sanjay. Sanjay Hegde, can you hear me? I can't hear you though. Sanjay?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Now I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Deportation is an independent question. The question is, where does the Dominican Republic deport him? India says that he is still an Indian citizen. Antigua says, yes, the man had acquired Antiguan citizenship, but under false pretenses, and Antigua wants to revoke the citizenship. That is an issue which is pending in the Antiguan courts. In the meanwhile, what does the Dominican court hold? Does it, as a matter, does it take upon itself to interpret Indian law and say that yes, you have still not voluntarily acquired citizenship of another country? That process is not complete. So, according to my understanding of the Indian Constitution, you should go back to India? Or does it say, look, you appear to have an Antiguan passport. We know that there is a case pending regarding your citizenship there. We'll send you back to Antigua. So these are two possible submissions before the Dominican Republic's court, and I can't hazard an answer as to which way it will rule. The two proceedings in the Dominican court are separate. One is Mehul Choksi saying that, look, I have been abducted and brought here. This is an illegal detention. Therefore, you quash that detention because it is illegal. That's the habeas corpus. On the other hand, there is the prosecution by the Dominican Republic's prosecution team saying that this man has entered the country illegally. Therefore, he must be punished. Both those proceedings might at some stage get clubbed if the facts are common and they need a common trial. But they are unlikely to have too much of an impact on the basic question of deportation. Everybody is agreed that the man has to be deported from Dominica, from the Dominican Republic. The question is, where do they deport him?
Let me ask Kulbir Krishnan. Many questions are being asked also about the government of India through the MEA, the agencies CBI and ED trying to implead themselves in this case. Now, I would imagine, and I'm not a legal mind, but I would imagine that the Dominican court would be less inclined to making a third country's agencies implead themselves, because clearly Mr. Choksi's claim is that he is an Antiguan citizen, and if at all he should be deported back to Antigua. So what is the role that the Indian agencies have? Because after all, this court is not hearing the merits of the charges that he is facing in India. That is a wholly different matter altogether. This court is only concerned with two things. Did he illegally enter that country? If so, what is the punishment that should be meted out to him? Or should he be deported back to the country that he came from, which happens to be Antigua? And of course, the habeas corpus that he has filed, where he's saying that this was done under duress, that he was forcefully abducted. The question of his crimes or his alleged crimes in India is not materially relevant to what the Dominican courts are hearing today.
Well, the Indian government...
it is relevant for the simple reason that how is Mehul Choksi a fugitive? The very fact that there's a red corner notice issued by Interpol on behalf of Indian police or Indian agencies has made him a fugitive. He has taken Antiguan citizenship, and which it is alleged has been by hiding relevant facts. Legal position has already been explained very nicely by Mr. Sanjay Hegde. The fact is that we are a party to this, and I'll tell you what happens in India. If a foreigner is caught like this, he's prosecuted under 14 Foreigners Act, and he is given punishment for 3 months or 4 months, and then he is sent back from where he came. Now, if this is, he can claim I came from Antigua, so I should be sent to Antigua. But Antiguan government and Dominican government are both saying that no, he's an Indian citizen and he should go back to India. It is for the court to take a final decision. And let me tell you, in this, it is not just legality which matters. You might, there are a lot of double standards involved in cases of economic fugitives. The same UK would happily deport Americans, without going through the entire legal process, while it is, raising issues like the state of Indian prisons, human rights, etc., which come up at the last stage, when deportation is already ordered. You might recall, when
but of course,
2001,
no, Mr. Krishnan, these are arguments, these are defenses that lawyers will always take, and frankly, if it is available in the law book, then I don't see any reason why you should find fault with them for resorting to that defense. But be that as it may, let me also for a moment go across to Roseanne Charles. She's a senior lawyer joining us from Dominica. She's joining us from Rosso in Dominica. Roseanne Charles, please explain to our viewers, because everybody here in India is keen that Mr. Mehul Choksi be deported back to India and stand trial for the grave crimes that he's accused of here in India. I'm just curious to understand if the Dominican court that is hearing his habeas corpus plea, as well as the lower court which will be hearing his whether he illegally came to Dominica, would they be concerned at all with what the Indian position is and what is it that the Indian authorities want? Because clearly neither does Dominica want to keep him there, nor do the Antiguans want to keep him there, because the Antiguan government's position has also been that he managed to get Antiguan citizenship illegally or by concealing facts.
Well, my understanding is that there's a habeas corpus application before the court, but as to the facts of the matter, there's a lot of speculation, and as far as I know, there's a gap on the order on his attorney. So the attorneys in the matter cannot really speak on the facts of the case. So a lot of what we hear is more or less speculation, basically. But usually the court can deal with habeas corpus applications where a person has been detained and they feel that they have wrongly been detained. And usually it is the court can also deal with people, matters where persons have been allegedly, or they allegedly entered the country wrongly, or through, not through the proper ports of entry, or they've overstayed, those types of matters. Those matters are usually in the magistrate's court. And we have a system here which is similar to the British system, a hierarchy of courts. So those types of matters, habeas corpus matters, are heard in the High Court. Matters concerning illegal entry, they are dealt with usually at the magistrate's court. If there is reason for appeal, we have a court of appeal called Eastern Caribbean Court of Appeal, and our final court of appeal is now the Caribbean Court of Appeal. That is, before it was the Privy Council, but we now have we've agreed that the Caribbean Court of Justice is our final court of appeal for Dominica.
Could you explain to our viewers what are the possibilities in both these cases? In the illegal case, if the court were to view him as having come to Dominica illegally, then what happens? And also in the habeas corpus case, if the court says his plea is not maintainable, then what happens?
When he would remain, if the court finds that his plea is not maintainable and they deny the application before habeas corpus application, then he would remain in custody of the state. For the matter concerning the illegal entry, it's usually heard at the magistrate's court. If somebody is found guilty, they can be fined or they can be imprisoned, and usually they are returned or after they've served their sentence or they've paid whatever fine, if it is a fine that's imposed, then they are removed from the state and they return to usually it is the country that they came from. So I think this is where
all right. I think that's an important clarification.
That is where I think some of the issues will come up as to where, if it is that he's found to have illegally entered the country, where is he returned to? So those are some of the arguments.
Yes. I think that's an important clarification. Usually these people are returned to the country that they came from. So in this case, he came from Antigua, although his citizenship of Antigua is still in dispute. But thank you very much, Roseanne Charles, for joining us. So Rajiv Pandey, there you have it. Even if he were to be deemed an illegal immigrant or having illegally entered Dominica, whatever punishment he faces there in terms of fines or jail time, thereafter he will be sent back to the country that he came from.
No, certainly this matter is pending before the court, but in my view, whatever I could understand, that he may be fined for illegal entry and he can send to the country from where he really belongs to. Antigua representative are saying that he is not a citizen of Antigua. So in that case, the court can look into
No. I don't know if you heard Roseanne Charles. I think she was very clear in what she said.
No, she was very clear.
The precedent and the convention in these illegal entry cases has been that after whatever it is, fine or jail time, subsequently that said person is sent back to the country that he or she came from. She said that very clearly.
Zakka, I have tried to search the legal position on that aspect. In my opinion, it can be sent to that Antigua or India also, because India is claiming that he is our citizen. Because what she has said.
Sanjay Hegde, I'll give you the final word. I think that lawyer from Dominica made it very clear. At least in my mind, I'm very clear. I'm very sure what she said, that usually they are sent to the country that they came from. Sanjay.
Well, she did say that, and Antigua actually wants him sent back to India simply because they do not want. They want the court proceedings in Antigua to become infructuous. However, as of now, he continues to have some kind of citizenship in Antigua, even though that is legally disputed. Antigua, the Prime Minister of Antigua seems to want the Dominican court, the Dominican Republic's court, to make the matter moot, as it were, or to solve his problems by directly sending him to India. That is not something which the Dominican court may play ball with. They say, if he came from Antigua, send him back to Antigua. What Antigua then does is not relevant to us. If he goes back to Antigua, then there would have to be the legal process to strip him of citizenship. And only after that citizenship is stripped off can Antigua then possibly send him to India. What is being attempted here?
All right, I'm going to thank all our guests because I'm completely out of time. Sanjay Hegde, Kulbi Krishnan, Anshula Vijay and Rajiv Pandey, thank you very much. We're getting the first pictures, and this is breaking news. First pictures of Prime Minister Modi's surprise interaction with CBSE students and parents. It was a separate meeting that was happening, and the Prime Minister, as it were, sort of dropped in on that meeting and gave his thoughts and suggestions to the students. Let's listen into what the Prime Minister had to say.
सर नमस्कार सर, और आप आ गए सर, आपने हमको ज्वाइन किया सर, उसके लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया सर. मैंने अभी इनको बताया कि एक स्पेशल गेस्ट आने वाले हैं सर, इन्होंने सोचा भी नहीं होगा सर. और सर ये लोग आपके आने से पहले ये भी आपकी बहुत बात कर रहे थे सर, आपके बहुत सारे फैन हैं सर यहाँ पे.
अच्छा, मैं तो अचानक आपको आ गया हूँ, लेकिन मैं आपको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करना चाहता हूँ क्योंकि आप बड़े हंसी खुशी के माहौल में थे और मुझे लग रहा था कि अब बिल्कुल एग्ज़ाम का टेंशन आपको बिल्कुल नहीं है, उसके कारण आपकी खुशियों का कोई पार नहीं है, ऐसा दिख रहा था. और आप कमरे में बंद होने के कारण ऑनलाइन कैलोरी कैसे बंद करना वो भी सीख लिए हो. अच्छा, कैसे हैं आप सब लोग?
आप बताइए।
ठीक है सर।
आप सब स्वस्थ हैं?
हाँ सर, स्वस्थ है।
आपके परिवार के सब सदस्य स्वस्थ हैं?
यस सर।
अच्छा, ये परसों जब आपने सुना, उसके पहले टेंशन थी और अब टेंशन गई, ऐसा है क्या?
हाँ सर,
बिल्कुल सर।
हैं? टेंशन गया?
बादल छाए हुए थे सर।
मतलब आपको एग्जाम का टेंशन होता है?
जी सर।
तो फिर तो मेरी किताब लिखना बेकार है। मैंने एग्जाम वॉरियर में कहा है कि कभी टेंशन मत रखो, तो फिर आप टेंशन क्यों पालते थे?
सर, हम रोज प्रिपरेशन करते हैं तब टेंशन का बात ही नहीं होती सर।
कब टेंशन होता है?
सर टेंशन तब होता है
जब अगर कुछ नहीं लगा सर।
और युवा की सेहत सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी है, इसलिए इतना बेहतरीन निर्णय लिया गया जिसके लिए हम आपके आभारी रहेंगे आजीवन।
लेकिन आप बताइए, आपका शुभ नाम क्या? आपका शुभ नाम क्या?
सर हितेश्वर शर्मा सर।
है जी?
हितेश्वर शर्मा, पंचकुला से। सर हितेश्वर शर्मा।